Hey guys, and back in studio. Jeez, it's been a while. Firstly, I am going to address a couple of things. Firstly, my voice is as hoarse as can be. About a week ago, I had COVID, believe it or not. And it somehow got infected into my chest. So I'm on intense asthma pumps and all that sort of jazz anyway. We're getting over it, but my voice is a bit hoarse, and I might throw in a cough here and then, so I do apologize in advance. Secondly, it's June, which means it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. You guys know how passionate I am about depression and men's health, breaking the stigma, and hence this snazzy little camo piece I've got on here. This was developed from the Eastern Province Roundtable Association, where they started a campaign, don't camo yourself, to all the gentlemen out there that are struggling with mental health. Guys, don't hide it. Please get involved, chat to a friend. It's important. It really, really is. And that's all about the awareness. So I'm running the Ice Bath Challenge. These guys are running the Don't Camo Yourself Challenge. I think it's a great initiative to try and break the stigma around men's health. It's very, very important that we see it in the right light. And yes, this is not my sporting camo wear that I'm going to be wearing into the bush anytime soon. However, it does hold a significant meaning. And I'm very, very proud to wear it on this episode here tonight. So I am absolutely buzzing. I'm truly buzzing. I've just got off a Zoom meeting with Autumn and Julie from Carbon Core TV, and I'm proud to announce the very first episode in June. I get to announce this, that I'll be joining the Carbon Core TV team. This is an incredible breakthrough for PH Journals and my obligation to the hunting community. I feel extremely honored. It really is a dream come true that the brand is really getting out there and doing what it does best, and that's bringing hunting to the forefront of conservation efforts. And that's been my goal this whole time, is just to try and educate people on why hunting is still one of the best conservation tools we have to offer. And yeah, guys, once again, I couldn't have done it with each and every single one of you, either listening to this podcast or watching it at home. Thank you so much. Honestly, it's been an unbelievable experience, and I just want to truly take this moment to say thank you to each and every single one of you that have followed me, whether you guys are returning or new viewers. Thank you, guys. It means the world to me. However, for those of you that this is the first episode that you guys are going to be watching or listening to, there's just one small favor I need to ask, and hence why we've grown so much, is because the guys that are watching or listening to this have done this very favor. And that's, guys, please, if you don't mind, if you like, subscribe, share, comment, do whatever you need to do to interact with this podcast, because every little bit counts. I know a lot of the time you guys hear this, and to be quite honest with you, I get a feeling that it's a bit of a pain in your ass. However, it's a one small little piece of acknowledgement that we can get that grows our channels to hopefully one day have bigger, better guests, have bigger, better episodes. So guys, please, if you don't mind, head along, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this episode, drop a thumbs up. And yeah, I'm going to dive into this episode because I'm really, really pumped. I've been talking about it. So yeah. So guys, the first episode in June, what is it all about? Well, those of you that have been following me on any one of the social media platforms will find out that last weekend, I spent the entire weekend, 4 days, chasing a common Reedbuck. Now, why am I going to be doing an episode on this particular hunt especially, is because I want to acknowledge and I want to bring to the forefront a question I've been asking myself throughout that whole hunt is, are we taking away from the traditional species we hunt? And it's an important topic. It really is. It's an important topic to discuss as local hunters, but also to discuss as PHs, as outfitters, as hunters coming from overseas to enjoy the fruits of South Africa. How do you guys like this new boomstick of mine? It's pretty cool, pretty neat. Anyway, So yeah, guys, just to run you through the hunt that happened last week. Those of you that haven't seen the episode, it's live on my YouTube channel. Head along, check it out. Tell me what you think. Yes, before I start off, I want to acknowledge, and I've had so many messages come through about fall Reedbuck does not form part of the Reedbuck Slam, and it's not a fall Reedbuck, it's a fall Reedbuck, and all these sort of things. I understand that, guys. I understand that fall Reedbuck are not part of the Reedbuck family. I do understand that. However, and this is my argument, they do have similar characteristics, features, facial features, coloring, all that sort of stuff, behavioral traits. So ever since I became a PH, we've always clumped it together as a Reedbuck Slam. And yes, common Reedbuck, mountain Reedbuck. A lot of people call it mountain Reedbuck, fall Reedbuck. Excuse me, sorry, there's the cough. However, I believe that animals with similar traits, exactly why we've got the beast slam, exactly why we've got the spiral horn slam, all of these sort of things fall in the same characteristics as hunting those specific species. So if you think that these species fall into the same category, it's okay to go and call it a slam or whatever it may be. It's unofficial. It really is unofficial. It actually means nothing at the end of the day. It is a heck of an achievement, I do think, hunting all three of those sort of species out there over almost 10 years now, 8 years, 7 years to be exact. And it's a life goal I've been chasing for so long. Now I want to do it with my bow. However, I don't think us calling it a slam should take away from the experience of the actual hunt. I don't think us calling it a slam should take away from the experience of those particular animals, because they each have got such unique characteristics, and that's something very, very, very special, and that's what we need to hold on to and acknowledge. However, for marketing purposes, if that's how you want to perceive it, by all means, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I might be a little bit biased because I called it a slam. However, you guys can judge me on whichever way you feel fit. But just to say that I did complete it, regardless whether the Reedbuck, fall Reedbuck is included or not. I still finished the common Reedbuck this past weekend, and the hunt was interesting. The hunt was beautiful. We arrived on the outskirts of Bergville in KwaZulu-Natal, on the foothills of the Drakensberg mountain range. The scene was set for the spectacular hunt. Henry, my girlfriend, her dad lives in the area, so we know that they're Reedbuck there. However, this was harvesting season, so there were fields that needed to be harvested. There was a lot of activity. Those of you that know common Reedbuck, they are shy animals. They try and tend to avoid confrontation than actually be involved in it. I'm sure like most antelope species. So with all the activity in and around that area, sightings were very, very scarce during the day, especially because during the day is high activity, during the evenings pretty much low activity stuff. So we get there day one. I set up in the late afternoon. The early morning we got there around about 10 o'clock, so it wasn't worth setting up. The wind was blowing as well, so I anticipated the wind to die down towards the later part of the evening, which it duly did. Not a lot though. So we set up, we just glassed. Bear in mind, I was doing this all by myself, right? So this was a self-filmed common Reedbuck hunt. The reason why I did that is my beautiful girlfriend decided, no, that was a good time to go and rupture her Achilles tendon playing netball. That sounded fun. Excuse me. So yeah, we arrived there. Like I said, with glass, nothing. Not a single activity apart from a couple of guinea fowls down below me. And just as we were packing up and ready to head out, because I didn't want to walk in the veld when it was too dark, I got a glimmer of hope as a female came out into the lands, which was beautiful to see. And that just builds those spirits up for the next morning, right? So the next morning I wake up and boom, stuffiness, COVID, whatever you want to call it. I get it and I'm feeling like absolute shite. I wasn't feeling good. Anyway, I put on my big girl pants and I headed out and started doing the same as pretty much as what we did last evening, where I found the female. We glassed into the bottom riverbeds and a couple of the lands. No activity whatsoever. I had a plan B. There were washaways along the sides of the lands where there was water inside. So my plan was to hang around there, see what's going on, and because they were using that as refuge, right, for water. So they were coming out of the lands, bedding themselves down in this washed out riverbed and drinking the water, and then during the evening going into the lands and feed. So I constantly watched and I glassed, and I thought, you know what, if I am going to have a chance today, the wind wasn't pumping, but it was blowing. But if I am going to have a chance today, my best opportunity is going to be to hit those riverbeds and just walk and hopefully bump them out. Probably about 150 meters into this whole walk, I saw a young ram, and I realized to myself that, wait, hang on here. I've got shooting sticks in my one hand, my camera in the other, and I've got my rifle slinged across my neck, which was not the perfect scenario, because if I do bump a big ram and he does run and give me the opportunity to shoot, for me to set that equipment up would have been a freaking nightmare. However, I didn't see anything. So I headed back, and we finished up at about 11 o'clock that morning. I headed in for lunch, and I had a little bit of a afternoon siesta, as hunters we do. I woke up at about 3, and I realized this isn't going to work. I am knackered. I'm tired. I'm physically drained, not from the hunting, but just from the sickness, the COVID, whatever came over me that weekend. Excuse me. So anyway, I said, no, well, you know what? I got to put in the effort. So I headed, I jumped in my pickup, and I thought, well, I'm just going to stick out of the wind for tonight. Just do a bit of glassing. I had my rifle with me, but without the intention of actually setting anything up. Get to a couple of new spots, glassed, no activity, and called it a night. Day 3, pretty much the same sort of scenario. However, I didn't do plan B, where I walked in those washed out riverbeds. I realized that there and then that plan was never going to work, especially doing a self-filmed hunt. I was going to have the element of surprise. So a proper common reedbuck hunt, and this is the point I'm trying to get to, and the proper common reedbuck hunt is you glassing these rolling hills, these high tips of grasslands. You know, it's called a reedbuck for a reason. They like to hide in substituted reed facilities, if that makes sense, because they feel safe in there. They really do, you know. And I've hunted common reedbuck in the Eastern Cape before. The thing about it hunting is that 9 times out of 10 these reedbuck have been put onto a game farm, because they're not indigenously from here. So they've been put onto this game farm, and you somehow know the area they're in, right? So you've got these vast grasslands that you are able to just constantly glass, because you know they're in that vicinity. You do know that. Picking out the correct ram is where the challenge comes in, and secondly, getting in close enough to pull off the shot. But however, you know they're there. With this, it's completely different, because these are cattle and crop farms. So they could travel as they need. You might have seen a big ram here, being the rut season. You might have seen a big ram here. 2 days' time, he's chasing females on the other property. So this is a completely different setup. And this is a proper traditional common reedbuck hunt. So anyway, day 3, like I said, we're glassing these rolling hills, these grasslands, and we're looking for anything giveaway, you know, big horns, flicker in the ear, white underbelly, whatever it may be, just to give away a little bit of movement so that we can see, okay, hang on here, we've got something. And day 3 came, we saw a beautiful darker, and that was about it. And that was it. That was day 3. And the next day we were planning to leave. It was a Sunday. Excuse me. And I realized very quickly to myself that not necessarily was it going to be an opportunity for me to walk away from a difficult situation. It was more of a letdown for me to understand that I haven't given myself and this hunt a fair opportunity of dignity. And what I mean by that is that getting in your bakkie or my pickup and going to these spots and setting up, and it takes a lot of effort. So the effort wasn't the issue, but it was the understanding behind the hunt. Was I doing something wrong that I wasn't seeing these animals? Or was I not just testing my knowledge a little bit to try and see what the best possible scenario was? And I knew the Reedbuck were there because the night before, on night 3, we came in from having dinner in town. We came in and somehow my headlights caught the one land and there were eyes everywhere, right? And I never really stopped to give myself an opportunity to say, oh, that's a nice ram, that's not a nice ram. But we knew they were there. We knew they were in the vicinity. We knew that these animals were coming out late hours of the evening to forage on the harvested cropland. Because the crop farmers over there, once they've harvested their land, they've had this cover crop thrown. May it be barley, oats, alfalfa, you never really know. So it's there to rejuvenate the soil. But these animals are eating off of it. So anyway, I decided that the morning of day 4, we were meant to leave. We gave ourselves until 9 o'clock. Sunrise was 6:30, and I knew I had done enough work, and I knew exactly what was pretty much going on in the land. The areas I was hunting. I knew the movement patterns. The stars just never aligned. I knew where to go. I knew where to set up. I had gut feelings about certain things that kind of paid off. Anyway, the one land I hadn't been glassing for some time. Well, I hadn't been glassing at all. Just in the evenings where I jumped in my pickup and I went there, you could see there was activity there. You could see whether it was darker or females or young rams or whatever it may be. We did see a couple of those. But my gut was just telling me that I need to go back to this one spot where I had seen a young male the day before. Because he was chasing the female I saw on day 1, which I'm anticipating, because during the later part of that evening, we saw him dart across just like a shadow. It was too dark for us to get a horn sizing on him, but we saw something dart across, and by the body structure, I just had this feeling that was just a male, right? Anyway, I'm digressing and making the story long. So day 4 came. I said to myself, I've got a gut feeling about this one spot. I need to go and check it out. Now, bear in mind, we were meant to leave at 9 o'clock that morning. It's a 9-hour drive all the way home. And it's a Sunday. Sunday after elections, it's going to be busy, one way or another. So anyway, I headed out and I had my whole gear and we set up, and it must have been about half an hour, maybe not half an hour, maybe about 25 minutes. And I spot this female, and I get this feeling that she's old enough to, be on heat, and she's old enough to have a cycle, So I'm watching her feed in the cropland. Yes, the next minute out of this one dark shrub. Now, in this particular land, there was an area that couldn't be not harvested, but it couldn't be graded because there was just a stone. So in South Africa, we've got this tall stick kind of weed. It's called a blackjack, and they had refuge their place in the stone. So all around this like island patch, the patch must have been big. It must have been 20 yards, about 20 yards, 20 yards long, and probably about 10 yards wide. All around this patch was harvested cropland, but they couldn't harvest this patch, or they couldn't grade this patch particularly because of the rocks that were under the soil and stuff, so the harvester couldn't get there anyway. And So I'm anticipating that these animals had used that for their bedding spot during the evening, or they used it during the day and they were feeding during the evening. Anyway, I saw this female come out and she was still grazing. And then I saw the male come out and he's chasing her now because I know she's hot. So anyway, no pun intended there. So anyway, I watch it, and he looks like a good ram. He's got the body structure. There's thick bases. Now, those of you that know me, I don't chase size. I know in Natal they've got some exceptional common Reedbuck, but I want to chase just a good representation of the species, number one. And number two, he needs to be old enough to take. I'm not just going to go out there and take any ram. So if I get close enough and I see, he's not quite big. I mean, I passed up on, I want to say 10 to 13 inch rams, 2 or 3 of them, easy. And in the Eastern Cape, we're shooting 10 to 13 inch rams any day. Anyway, so I see this ram and I give it time, because now inside of me, I'm like egging. I'm like, I need to go. So I'm like, let me close the distance. I'm 420 yards away. Let me close the distance, get into that 200 yard range. Then I know at any given time, no matter what happens, I'll be able to pull off a shot at this distance. Get into the 200 yard range, set up the spotting scope again, and I watch him bed. And he beds in that thick blackjack arena. So I head and I get close and I get close and I get close. Now I know common Reedbuck, when they feel threatened, they lie as flat as they possibly can, and then almost like their chins go flat to the ground. So I get in close and I can't see it. I can't see the sign of the female and I can't see the sign of the male. Now this is typical, this is what I'm calling typical common Reedbuck hunting, because you know they're there, you can physically not see them. Anyway, I get up to a point, climb through this one fence, and I pick up my glass, and as I pick up my glass, for some reason I caught the flick of the female's tail. And I knew they were there. So I'm glassing, and eventually all I could see out of the tips of the grass were his 2 horns. Just literally, if you watch the video, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's all I could see. Excuse me. And it's at that point that I really realized how special this moment really was, because I've hunted hard for 3 days. I might not have been in the veld constantly, but I've pushed my body to new heights. And I get up to this point and all I've got to do is pull the trigger. Now, the animal's lying down. I can't get a clear shot on him. And everything in my power is pulling me back to say, just hang on, he's got to stand up. He's got to stand. You want to have an ethical shot. Because the last thing I want now, it's already now probably 7:45. The last thing I want is to wound this animal and then spend the whole day looking and leaving that evening to get back 9 hours home. So anyway, I've got my 1 foot, and I was actually having a conversation with Wayndell the other day, and I'm like, in hindsight, what I should have done is swap the cameras around, have my camcorder on the solid tripod, and my HD or my 4K camera that was on me on the monopod. So if I missed my reaction to the shot or whatever it may be, it's not the end of the world. I would have got the animal on the stage, and I didn't swap them around anyway. And I'm shouting, I'm like, hey, because I want this thing to stand up. And I've got my foot on the one monopod leg, and I'm on the shooting sticks because the grass is high, and I'm on the shooting sticks and I'm shouting, hey, and he starts how a common Reedbuck normally get up, arse first and then the front legs. And I'm getting ready and I'm moving, and as I move, my foot comes off the one leg of the monopod and the camera falls, but as he stands, I'm like, I've got to go now, and I land the perfect shot. Unfortunately, I didn't get it on camera. However, it was a hunt that I got to share an experience with. And that is my point of this episode of the podcast. Is I took a long time to get there, 25 minutes to be exact. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. But when Zach and Lacey came out for their first safari, we had a black wildebeest on the package, and we went out. It took us 5 days. Well, no, not really. Pretty much the whole hunt. Call it 8 days of hunting black wildebeest hard, looking for good ethical bulls to take. And the thing is that was a proper black wildebeest hunt. My point that I'm trying to make is I get nervous after experiencing what I've just experienced. Look, when you hunt kudu, nothing takes away from that experience. There's only, I'm not going to say there's only one way of hunting kudu, but there's only a specific way you hunt a kudu bull. You hunt a bushbuck. These things haven't been altered to the species to make it easier on whatever given reason. And I asked myself the question, and during this hunt, I asked myself the question: is that being a call it a freelance outfitter, being able to travel around South Africa, the next client that comes into South Africa and wants to hunt a common Reedbuck, I'm going to take him to Natal. And the reason for this is that I want him to experience what I experienced, because traditionally, that is how that species, that's a habitat that species has lived in and has been fortunate to thrive in over generations. When you're game farm based, and I don't want to take anything, and I hope I'm not going to get crucified for this, but when you're game farm based and you have brought the species in, I do worry that we take away from the experience of hunting that species. And why is this important? Because if we are going to label ourselves as conservationists, if we are going to label ourselves as true hunters, you want to hunt the animal in its own environment to generate that experience, to create those memories. And I do worry that a lot of our species we've taken away from that. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of opportunities out there on game farms that we are able to do a very, very similar hunt, if not replicate it very, very close. And that's not taking away for some of the species that have thrived in some of these areas. For instance, I'm going out on a lechwe hunt that have thrived in the Eastern Cape for years and years and years and years. And I hope that what I experienced on that lechwe hunt, I've tried already with a bow. Now that I don't have a camera lady available, I'm going to have to do this with a rifle and still film again. But I don't want it to take away from the experience of hunting that specific species. Am I going to get the opportunity to hunt it in a swamp where they're originally from? I hope so. I really, really hope so. But I do worry that a springbuck in our area, no, springbuck's not a fair one, Sable in wide open landscapes is kind of not the indigenous habitat. They like the thick bushy areas. But have we taken away from that experience? On a sable, I don't quite know. I think a sable is going to be genuinely a very, very similar experience to the whole thing. You know, I'm trying to just think of a species that I can kind of relate to likewise with it, you know. For instance, you know, if I think North America, you're not going to go and take a mule deer, and the mule deer you hunt in a half fence setup is going to be completely different to a mule deer you hunt in Arizona or New Mexico or one of those places. And that's my point I'm trying to get across, is that experience is completely different to what you would hunt in a half-fence Texas ranch. But is it the same? Are we honoring these animals? It's a question I'm asking, because I don't know. What I experienced last weekend on that common Reedbuck hunt was something out of this world. It really, really was. An animal I have taken for granted for so many years, because how I've hunted it on game farms was nothing to the experience I hunted him in Natal. And a lot of people are going to argue with me and say, oh no, it's the free range aspect of it. And I will disagree with you every day of the week. But hunting that animal in that environment was next level. Was absolutely unbelievable. It really, really was. And it's something I hold very, very dear to my heart. It was, if you are planning to come out to South Africa and you've never really considered a common Reedbuck, I'd highly suggest you go and watch my episode. And number 2, put it on the bucket list, because I know you will be back, but it's definitely something worth hunting, because the experience is like none other. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I really did. I didn't get the kill shot that I wanted. However, I had loads and loads of fun. It was a memory I'll hold very, very dear to my heart. Yeah, guys. So with that being said, I've got some exciting news. Obviously, this month we are stacked up with podcasts. I will be joining Sean Kogut on his podcast this week sometime. Next week, I've got a very, very exciting one. I am interviewing Carl van Zyl from John X Safaris. Carl has been a role model to many of us, number 1. And number 2, their model of outfitting as a conservation aspect is one that I'm so excited to dive into. And those of you that haven't, John X is a huge player in the Eastern Cape hunting industry. And I really, really look forward to having him on the episode. In between all of this, I'm hoping to do my lechwe. I'm hoping to hunt my kudu for the season and try and get that on film. And then at the end of the month, my good friend Pat Dugan is back. He's back for his 7th or 8th safari with us. And I'm looking so forward to this one. We're going to be based out of the Port Alfred area down in the Eastern Cape, where we're going to be chasing not a lot of species for him this time, more about his daughter, which I'm very, very excited about. Lily's going to be joining us on this hunt, and I can't wait to share a lot of some cool stories with you guys on that one. And then, yeah, pretty much July, we are open for a little bit more hunting, and I'm hoping to bring you guys a little bit more content. This is definitely not going to be my last episode. I will be running another episode this weekend, so if you guys haven't, check it out, and I'm looking forward to this one. And to all my South Africans, I hope you guys are having an incredible hunting season. To everyone up north, I hope you guys have a fantastic summer break. And if you haven't got anything to do, you know where to find the podcast and the PH Journal's Hunting Journal. I'm looking forward to sharing some more content with you guys. But for myself, once again, thank you so much for everything you guys have done for me. But if you are, happy hunting. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble. We'll catch up with you guys soon. Cheers.